Today we're going to be doing an instructional game of Heroes of the Storm Canadian Edition. Episode 1 features my boy Illidan and the Haunted Mines of Alberta. Okay guys, so I want to tell you a few things about this boy Illidan here before we get started. You know, he's not a very tanky champ, and you gotta get in there and you gotta do the damage, right? But you don't want anybody getting hurt, so you gotta build him really tanky. So any chance you get, modify your E, which is evasion, and that'll help him live longer. You know, we don't want anybody getting hurt up here in Canada, you know. Great White North, we gotta keep people safe up here, okay? Okay, so the thing here about this pre-game fights is you don't want to be dying for anything. I mean, you want to try and get those vision points, but don't let anybody on your team die if you can help it, you know. And Illidan, you want to go for the squishy target, so that's why I go in here on Tyrant. You know, you just got to get her killed. So we got first blood, which is great, and then I want to go for Vala, but I don't want to dive too deep. You know, you don't want to die right off the bat. You know, you got to stay safe. So we just kind of scare the other team off here, and my healer keeps healing me, so I go in for Vala. Okay, so what you want to be doing now there, boys, is going back up to your lanes, eh? You want to be soaking that experience, and you want to be getting that level advantage for your team. So next time you go fight, you know, it's not your team getting hurt. You know, you can be hurting the other team, you know. Feel sorry about that, but you got to be getting the level advantage so you can kill them, eh? Okay, so what you want to be doing at this point on the map there, boys, is doing a 4-1 split. Now, we don't do it in this game, but regularly you want to do a 4-1 split so that you push that golem there, eh? So you put the 4 on the side of the golem, and you put the 1 on the other guy. Hopefully you got a pusher that can hold that lane there, eh? But we want to push top here as hard as we can so that we force the other team back before we go in the mines. And we got a big advantage that way, but you don't want to be dying, you know. If you die, what happens is the other team gets lots of guys and they go in the mine, they get all skulls, you know. The Albertan mines are not friendly for us, so we don't want to be getting hurt before we go in, we want to be healthy. So the ideal thing here to do to our brawlers is just to go get the fountain. If you get the fountain, you don't actually have to go back, and you got some life still on your blade, so you should be fine. But if you're going to go back before the haunted mines, you know, you got to do it at about 30 seconds. If you do it any later than that, you know, you got 15 seconds or so to get back to the lane, so you're not going to make it in time. You don't want to be late, you know. You got to keep your team going there. You got to keep them healthy and friendly, and you know, you got to watch their back for them. So you want to be back in time for the mines. Okay there, boys, so we're gonna go in here and we're gonna sit ready for an ambush, you know, but they don't come in, so we gotta prioritize the next two camps, which is the mid camp, which has 5, and with the one on the left there over there, you know, it's got 6, so we want to go over there and get those as quick as possible. You want to stay with your team, no, don't go out on your own, you know, you get picked off. And you can watch the things on the minimap, you know, you can see where the enemy team is when the skulls are disappearing. Okay, quick thing about talents there, boys, I took the modify E to start the game. It gives me a shield on my evasion, and then I just took modify my W to give me the Immolation blades, okay? Okay there, boys, so this part here, we got a good engage from ETC on stitches there and start feeding in the right left, you know, and the problem is, you know, 5 people show up, that's not good, you know, you gotta stay safe, so I can't do much here but run, you know, I got Rhaegar behind me, so I want to try and help him, you know, but everybody's following, so just run away at this point, get out and get ready for the big guy in the corner over there, you know. So I head out of the mines here. Okay, so I go back here to see if the fountain's up, and you know, it's still got a cooldown on it, so I just want to be going back to the fountain, you know, heal up full, and we gotta concede the mines at this point. You know, we've really already won the mines, you know, we got 54 out of the half, and as far as my brain knows, you know, it's a little cold up here, but I think that's more than half. So we're gonna go ahead and get this middle camp here. You know, it helps push, helps offset that golem there a little bit, so we can go top and also push the bot for us. So I can solo these two guys over here. The thing about Illidan with the bird camps is, you know, you got your W and you got your E, so you can solo pretty much anything pretty easily as soon as you hit level 4. The only thing you want to watch for is actually don't be, you know, getting hit off by and picked off by somebody when you're trying to steal a camp, you know. But Illidan, the best way for him to DPS there is to just use your W and evasion. Don't use Q, you know, you're better off auto attacking. You get more DPS that way, just auto W, you know, and take down this camp there. Okay, at this point there, boys, I just want to be getting the vision for our team, so I head over here to take this vision camp. And then I'm going to head bot and see what's going on there. You know, I see lots of their team over there, boy. So, oh, no, they're not good. So, Diablo's there getting pinged off. I can't really do much to help them. So, I got to go up and help my other buddies up top, you know. Just pass the puck up here to these guys, you know. So, I'm going to hop over on Vala there, you know, try and scare her off a little bit so my guys can take down that thing. But, luckily that wall was not killed yet, so I can hop back over. You know, it's a neat little trick there with Illidan. You can just hop over the wall, you know, give him a little bangle, you know. So we want to be pushing this Golem there, boys. You know, he's a big bud. He's got a big muscle on him. So we want to be pushing this guy. You know, whenever your Golem's, you know, pushing harder than theirs and bigger than theirs, you want to be helping him out. You know. So I modify my next talent here to take heal. You know, it helps you stay alive in those fights. You know, so got good on the go healthcare there for you. So we want to be hitting this fort as much as we can, you know, but as soon as it's down, we can engage, and we've already started to sort of poke them down, right? So that's what we want to be doing right now. Okay, so the fight's kind of started here, boys. So, you know, you want to be taking down Lily, you know. She's a pain. She, you know, keeps everybody alive, you know, which is good for them, you know. I feel great for, you know, they're staying healthy, but, you know, not good for us. So I got to be taking her down. I can't reach anybody, really, at this point, and you don't want to be diving, you know. You take those turret hits. They really hurt, you know. So I let my Golem push up here, and I try and feed right, left to the turrets here as much as possible. Pop your evasion, so you're immune, and then you back out and kind of do the same thing. Rotate when you feel like you're taking too much damage there, you know. Just get out and wait it out a little bit. So at this point, I know they're gonna try and engage, you know, when our Golem goes down. So you gotta be back and ready for it, you know. ETC gets done there, but not a big deal, you know. Diablo goes in, you know, kind of falls too far, you know. I feel really bad, you know. He died. You know, it's not good, you know. Buddy on the team dies, you know. I feel real bad about that, but I do what I can here to get the vision point and go back, and I see Nazebo and I say, you know what, sorry bud, but you gotta go. So I feed him the right left, you know, just give him a little dangle there, so around his little ghouls, and Rhaegar and I take him down real nice there, boys. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now there, boys, is we're going to be pushing this wave out here. You know, I got the Immolation blade, so I W in, I take everything out. Tychus, my buddy, he's a right winger there, so he's going to be taking out these turrets with us. You know, we got 3 people and no wave, so really bad idea. You know, he got caught a little bit, but he got the heal, so Diablo goes in there, gets a real nice engage, and I say, oh, you know what, I can go for Vala here, so I'm gonna go crazy on her, you know. I feel bad, and little trick there, you know, jump over the wall, jump over with your Q. It's got a pretty long range. I take Metamorphosis, and I decide, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go back in, and no, why not? You know, I feel pretty good, but it's a bad time to engage. You know, everybody's backing on the team. I do what I can, but Diablo gets him a good fire breath there. You know, he's just firing him down. What you want to do before the mines, you know, if you can pick somebody off before a mine, gives your team a huge advantage. So you want to be trying to look for picks, but you don't want to be getting picked yourself, you know. So we do the smart thing here. We take a few towers, and then we're gonna back off. Okay. So now what we want to be going to do is our bruiser camps back up. So we want to go up there and we want to take that. You know, I don't need help. We got 30 seconds before the mine, so you know it's better if everybody comes quick and we handle these guys real fast. You know, get them pushing down the lanes for us when we go inside. It's a really good thing to do. You know, middle camp's gonna be up sometime during the mine, so you can't worry about that yet. But we're gonna get this camp, and then we're gonna get ready to go up for the mines. Okay. Okay, so these Albertinian mines are ready to open up here, so we're going to go up, we're going to get ready, and this next play you're going to see is why team comp is a very good thing to have. You know, you support each other's backs, you know, you got your left winger, your right winger, your center, you know, your D, you got them all working together. This is what can happen, you know. Okay, so we're going to come up here on a big fight, and your job in a fight, you know, don't be the first guy in there, but you don't want to be getting hurt, so we're going to let ETC come in here. He gets a really good engage, you know. He gets his little mosh pit down there, going for people. Diablo, he's burning igloos like crazy. Oh my god. Like, look at that, boys. He just burned those igloos down, you know. I don't get a home now, but, you know, we won. So, I'm going to be getting these skulls. See, boys, that's why team comp's so good, you know. You got one guy hitting him AoE, you got the other guy hitting him AoE, then you got me in there. I can just, you know, I can go ham. I can feed everybody the right, left, you know. I feel real bad. I feel real sorry. I know I don't like killing anybody there, but, you know, I gotta keep my boys safe, you know. I gotta keep my buddy safe. So we're gonna go up here and we're gonna get the big golem there, you know. He's a big boy, so got avoid that AoE damage there, you know. Just back in, back out, you know. Hit him as much as you can. You know, the middle camp's up there too, so you gotta be thinking, looking at the mini map at all times there, boys, eh? So you see them, they're kind of pushing their lanes out, eh? So we want to go back here as quick as possible, and I'm pinging the middle comp right there. See how I'm pinging that? You know, I know they're there, so I want to get there as soon as possible. Okay. So my team's going, I'm over here, and I know they're coming with me, so I'm just going to go ahead and lead the charge there, boys. You know, normally you don't want to be first in on Illidan, but I don't want them to steal this camp, you know. It's pretty important there, eh? So I'm going to go here, and look at this. I'm going to go Metamorphosis right on the whole pile, stop them from taking that camp there, eh, boys? And I'm going to go high priority squishy targets. Diablo ult's real nice here. I get eaten up, but, you know, like, that's nice dinner, but that's okay. I come out and first priority, hit anybody I can. I go for Val, I can't get Val, so I go for Stitches. You know, we got a good engage here. We don't have to dive too deep, you know. We stopped the camp, we got the camp. That was all good there, boys. So now we're just gonna kind of feel them out, you know, see if they're gonna engage. They're gonna run away, so we're just gonna go up to their get the top there, eh? You know, our golem's gonna be pushing real hard, but first we got an opportunity to steal that bruiser camp there, boys. So we're gonna take this now, eh? And again, clear this really fast, and hopefully push this golem for the win. You know, he's a big boy. He's 92. You know, that's a game-winning golem right there. You know, he's got the biggest muscle I've ever seen. So you know, we gotta push that boy out. Okay, so at this point, you know, you just want to be assisting the golem. You want to kind of scare them off, you know, so he can go do some work in the middle there. So I'm hitting the towers as soon as I can, you know. Don't want to be taking too much damage, but, you know, Diablo, he gets a nice back on Stitches here. He knocks him back. You know, we take him out, so they got no tank, you know. They're kind of hurting right now, you know. Feel sorry, you know, we had to take out their main guy. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do to win the game here, boys. So I'm hitting Fountain when I can, you know. I go for Vala, can't get her, you know. Diablo again, nice ult. He's coming close to MVP there for that game, you know. He's had some good ults, but you want to be hitting Vala, so I try here to Metamorphosis and I go for Nazeebo, you know, try and get him to stop from poking our golem. You know, it's pretty much over at this point, but you know, I feel really bad about that. I didn't need to kill that guy, but you know, sometimes, you know, Illidan, he kind of takes over. So that's the end of the game there, boys. You know, this is Kibbles and Bits here for Team Poutine. And I'd like to thanks for watching. If you want to like, rate, comment, subscribe, you know, we'll be having more instructional videos come out. If you want to recommend a champ, you know, to learn about, I'll just put them on there, rate in the comments, and I'll see what I can do to put them up for you. Okay, boys? Thanks for watching, eh?